Okay, good day. So we will be discussing all of the topics. The coverage of this lecture is for midterms. So lesson 4 is environmental scanning, lesson 5 is creativity and design thinking, and lesson 6 is feasibility analysis. So I think we already had some um topics before about environmental scanning, wherein we had a lecture about SWOT analysis, I remember. Um and for the creativity and design and thinking, I also uploaded a video recording about that one. So this is just a supplement where let's say a recap. And of course, feasibility analysis. So is it feasible or not? Does this venture become or what I mean is, are we going to push through this venture or not? Okay. So so before we start, so let's think about this. So have you ever had a business idea at some point and then you thought na, ay, magandang business to kaso wag na lang, parang nawalan ka ng motivation na gawin or feeling mo hindi siya magiging successful. So, hindi mo siya ginawa. So, pretty sure marami sa atin yung ganyan na parang maganda tong business concept na ito eh. Kaso hindi ko parang parang wala akong masyadong kapital, medyo malaki yung capital, no? So, parang hindi ko pa kaya. So, um So, for the next three topics, I want you to remember this. So, by the time we finish these, we will understand kung bakit we will be able to understand what are the things or factors bakit hindi kaya natin itinuloy. And instead of saying na hindi ko tinuloy kasi ganito ganyan, dapat yung mindset natin, ano yung mga pwede nating gawin instead para matuloy siya. Okay? So, and to be honest, it's not only about problems with capital. So in fact, most of the time, hindi yun yung problem because take note, most of the startups will just start small. Okay? So, um, so the thing is, you just have to understand or know how to maximize your capital at hand. No, so you don't have to start with a big amount of money at once. Okay? So, for entrepreneurial mindset, we are going to focus on three simple but very powerful tools: scan, create, and decide. So, for scan, paano mo babasahin at maiintindihan ang environment around your business? So, create, paano ka gagawa ng something that people actually want? And decide, paano mo malalaman kung worth it bang i-pursue ang idea na ito? And one more thing, look at the subtitle. Sabi, three frameworks that turn a rough business idea into a decision you can defend. So I want you to remember this one, a decision you can defend. So hopefully at the end of this semester, when you're going to pitch, you will not just say, kasi ito yung naisip namin, ito kasi yung maganda, but then, you will base this one, you can say that this is feasible because based on the data that we had, it goes like this. Okay? So, again, when you say evidence, this is really very important when you are an entrepreneur, since for you to become because again, we have to be a calculated risk taker. When you say calculated, we already understand the magnitude, the level of risk that we will be undergoing, and at the same time, how much risk can we absorb without losing our senses, 'di ba? If you remember, what are the four types of risk in business? We have the financial risk, we have the career risk, social risk, and psychological risk. So for the financial risk, as we all know, ang business, um, there are a lot of things that can happen, no? Um, and dapat alam mo sa sarili mo na this might not work. Or or maybe you can think about, or you can prepare for the problems that you might have in the future. But of course, when it involves money, you should also understand that the financial losses that you could incur should not be so much painful in your part. Okay? Para hindi ganun kabigat. Okay? So, kumbaga, nag-business ka, yung ipinuhunan mo, yung kaya mo lang mawala from you. Dapat ganun. Okay? And, ano pa, yung career risk. Syempre, if you will be pursuing a business, dapat hands-on ka dyan and full-time. So, in most cases, entrepreneurs would quit their jobs and just focus on running a business. Ano pa? Um, career, psychological risk. Of course, when bankruptcy is at hand, or you have a lot of loans, and you are not liquid. So these things can burden your mental health. So are you emotionally and mentally strong in facing these hurdles, 'di ba? And last one would be social risk. So, when you are having your business, you might have arguments with your own family, you might have arguments with your friends because you are you believe that this is a good thing, but most probably your family members would say no and would advise you against it. Okay, so the relationships are also at stake. So those are the four types of risk in putting up a business. You remember that. So, okay, as an entrepreneur, when you put up a business, you should accept that one. You should prepare for those risks. Okay, so moving on. So here is the executive summary. Here's the map for the next or for this midterm. So we have three words. We have scan, create, and decide. So scan, this is basically your eyes looking at the outside world. Everything that's happening around your business that you did not choose and cannot completely control. Um, so you have the internal environment and the external environment. We have that in your SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, those are the things that you can control. Opportunities and threats, those that you cannot control. And under the opportunities and threats would be your PESTLE and your Porter's 5 forces. Okay? Moving on to create. This is where your ideas come from, how you turn those ideas into something real, something that can actually solve a customer's problem. And for 6, decide. This is where reality hits in, okay? This is where you look at your business idea and honestly ask, is this really okay? Worth it ba akong gumastos ng pera as well as my time and effort for this? Okay? Now, look at the sentence at the bottom. So success depends on success rarely depends on raw intelligence or capital. It depends on noticing change early, adapting deliberately, and deciding with evidence rather than optimism. Okay? So, ano yan? Basically, no, it's not all about intelligence or knowledge, not only about that one. Yes, you already know the technical know-how on about the processes of your business. You have the capital, but being adaptive to changes also matter. Okay? Why? Because again, You might at some point the business is doing well, but the next day there are some things that might change or happen, and then you can be caught off guard. So how with these drastic changes, drastic ibig sabihin mabilis. Mabilis na pa mga pangyayari. Gaano ka kaagad, gaano ka ka-agile, no? Gaano ka bilis ka mag-adapt nitong change, mag-adjust. Okay? So, ayun, that's it, okay, for the executive summary. Now moving on to the why environmental scanning matters. So let's start with one of the simplest ideas in this topic. So there are things that you can control and there are things that you cannot control. Yun yung sinabi ko kanina, di ba? For the internal factors, ano yun? Unclear mission, resistance to change, understaffing or poor quality hiring, high staff turnover, weak internal controls, over borrowing or over leveraging. So, itong mga to, we can control this one, right? Why? When you are resistant to change, sa'yo yan, ayaw mong magbago. Eh, nandyan na nga yung tools para makatulong sa iyo. Aralin mo na lang. Pero hindi, mas gusto mo yung old ways mo. That's on you. 'Di ba? As well as for the understaffing or poor quality hiring. Bakit ganon? Bakit poor yung pag-hire mo? Didn't you study? Didn't you plan carefully kung ano ba yung mga hindi mo pa ba na i-map out yung responsibilities ng empleyado na iyon, as well as ano ba yung qualities na hinahanap na fit for your business, 'di ba? So ibig lang sabihin nito, ikaw lang mismo yung makakapag-solve niyan. Yung mga problemang yan kaya mong i-control. So, let's take a look in simpler terms, let's take a look at your own bedroom. So, no, or yung bahay nyo. Is it magulo? Yung pagiging magulo ba kaya mong ayusin? 'Di ba? Kung magulo yan, that's on you. Kasi, ikaw lang naman yung kumikilos doon, 'di ba? Siguro hindi mo binabalik sa tamang lalagyan yung mga kinuha mo, o di kaya hindi mo tinatapon sa basurahan yung mga pinagkainan mo or what, 'di ba? So, iyang mga yan, internal factors yan. And, of course, you can clean it, you can organize it, you can change things. So, pwede mo pang i-tweak. Yung weakness na yon, okay, yung weakness na yon na magulo yung kwarto mo, magulo yung bahay, pwede mong i-change, i-improve into something positive. Eh di mag-declutter ka, eh di maglinis ka. 'Di ba? Mag-organize ka. Ganon din sa business, no? Ganon din sa external. On the other hand, for the external factors, ito yung mga things na hindi mo makokontrol. So, you should be monitoring and anticipating it. Ano yung monitoring? Tinitignan mo, monitor, anticipate, inaabangan, inaasahan. Okay? So, um, examples dito, yung government regulation, political instability, economic recession, technological change, natural disasters, disruptions in raw material supply. So take a look at the war between US and Iran. Anong nangyayari? Biglang tumaas ang fuel, 'di ba? Biglang tumaas ang presyo ng fuel kasi nga yung pinagkukuhanan, yung Strait of Hormuz, yung sa trade, yan, yung mga oil tankers, mga ships diyan, hindi makadaan kasi nga dahil sa war, dahil nga sa alitan ng Iran and US. Apektado ba tayo? Of course. Because as you know, halos lahat ng ginagamit natin or lahat ng ginagawa natin ay merong factor ang fuel. Bakit? Siyempre yan, gasolina. Saan ba nanggagaling, para saan ba yung gasolina? Transportation. Paano yung transportation? Ayan, yung mga PUVs, mga private cars, 'di ba? Or let's say for example, may business ka, 'di ba? Instead na ang iyong presyo, ang budget mo lang sa fuel cost ay let's say 5,000 per month yung pagpapagasolina mo sa pagde-deliver ng iyong products. Eh dahil tumaas yung presyo ng gasolina, nagiging 10,000 yung expenses mo. Eh di, mas malaki yung nagagastos ng iyong business. So, may tendency na magtaas ka rin ng presyo ng iyong produkto para mabawi mo. So, ganun din. Ganun. At kawawa kaming mga empleyado kasi hindi naman agad-agad natataas ang aming sahod. Pero ang lahat ng mga bilihin, lahat ng commodities, apektado ng pagtaas ng presyo ng gasolina. Kasi lahat yan, it involves fuel. 'Di ba? Ano pa yung mga electricity natin, ganon, 'di ba? So, lahat ng yan, can we control it? No. But we can do something about it. We can mitigate it. We can lessen the impact of these risks or these threats. And we can also anticipate it, no? Ano pa? Yeah, with the rise of AI, technological change, who would have thought na ngayon, dati ay nagkaklase lang ako sa face-to-face classes sa classroom setup. Dati nag-online class lang ako kung ang estudyante ko ay nasa China o Japan, 'di ba? Pag Pilipino, pag dito sa Philippines, nagkaklase ako sa loob ng classroom, sa school, campus. Pero nang dahil sa rise ng technology, na we now have Zoom, we now have Google Classrooms, Google Meet. So there is this technological change, and universities and basic education are now embracing both synchronous and asynchronous classes because they have to adapt. This industry has to adapt. So, kung ikaw ay may school, syempre, ayan na, biglang may change. Bibili ka ng LMS sa Google Classroom. 'Di ba? Mahal yon. O di kaya, magkakaroon ka ng dedicated learning management system. Kung hindi Google Classroom, pero meron yung classmates ata o, I forgot what kind. But there are other LMS platforms, okay, that you should buy so that you can provide or you can adapt to the changes in this education industry. Parang ganon. Ito na naman, natural disasters. Bakit nga ba tayo nag-asynchronous ngayon? 'Di ba? It is because of the typhoons during the flood season, natural disasters. Okay, so if you have a business at nabaha, yun masakit lalo na kung nabaha yung stocks mo, ganun. So but you need to anticipate it and you need to prepare for it. Those are the external factors. Okay? So gaya nga niyan, if there's a storm, hindi mo naman mapipigilan ang storm, 'di ba? What you can do is bring an umbrella. So may nakita akong meme kagabi. So, umuulan, magdala ka ng payong. Wala ka sa Korean novela, no? Walang Koreanong, walang opa na sasalo sa'yo or walang opa na magbibigay sa'yo ng payong or papayungan ka. You're on your own, sabi niya. So, medyo natawa ako, medyo relate dito. So, syempre ikaw, in-anticipate mo nang uulan, di magdala ka ng payong, 'di ba? You prepared for the rain. Okay? So, yun yun. Okay? So, there you go. I think we understood this one. So, in business, it's not always the big that eat the small. Sometimes, it's the fast that eat the slow. Anong ibig sabihin nun? 'Di ba? Hindi palaging yung malaki ang kumakain ng maliit. Kung hindi, ang kumakain ng ngayon nowadays, yung mabilis. Ngayon ang kumakain ng mabagal. Okay? So, predator, parang ganun. So, take note of that. And moving on to the PESEL framework. So, let's move to our first major tool, the PESEL analysis. So, PESEL is basically a checklist, okay? Its purpose is simple. Para hindi mo makalimutan ang importanteng factors outside your business. So, let's use one example, which is political. So, imagine that you decide to open a milk tea shop right across from your campus. Sounds like a good student business, right? Okay, so let's scan it using PESEL. So for the political, what permits do you need? How much is the local business tax? Gaano katagal ang approval process sa City Hall? Diba? Yan yung mga under ng political legal. Okay? Next, what happens sa economic? What happens if the price of sugar and milk increases? At the same time, your customers may also have less money to spend because their own expenses are increasing. Ba, yung tinatawag nga natin na yung purchasing power ng mga tao. Siyempre, kapag inflation, tumataas ang bilihin, hindi naman tumataas ang sahod. Ba? So, paano yun? Siyempre, yung mga yan, kami magtitipid. No? Yung demand or let's say yung mga bibili sa iyong milk tea shop, siguro yung mga talagang mayayaman at kaya pa nila, pero malaking bawas yung mga um, masakit sa bulsa yung yung inflation, yung pagtaas ng bilihin din. Okay? Social. So maybe students are becoming more health conscious. They may start asking about sugar levels, calories, or healthier options. So ito na yung demographic shifts or changing attitudes to careers and consumptions. For technological, pace of change and R&D that could automate or disrupt operations. So what if most students order through delivery apps, instead of physically going to your shop? Okay? For the environmental, ecological impact, climate effects, waste management rules. What about plastic cup regulations? And what if customers become more concerned about waste and sustainability? Ano pa? Legal, consumer protection, intellectual property, health, and safety. So you need to consider sanitary permits, food safety requirements, health inspections, and other regulations. So what happened? It's still the same milk tea shop, but we discovered 6 completely different threats and opportunities. And that's exactly the purpose of PESEL. You don't just look at the product, you look at the environment surrounding the business. So, one warning, there are 2 E's, okay? Economic and environmental. Okay, so may mga nalilito sa ganyan, please don't be that person na nalilito na iisa lang pala, akala nila isa lang yung E. Iba yung economic, iba yung environmental. Okay? So, applying PESEL, 4 steps. So we have a listing trend is not analysis. A discipline sequence keeps the findings usable. So we have research, list, rate, impact, identify, actions. So now you know the 6 letters, but here's the thing. So knowing the letters is the easy part. The difficult part is turning what you discover into an actual business decision. So there are 4 steps. First is research. Of course, you need to gather information. Don't just find out what is changing. Try to understand why it is changing. Okay? Understand not only the what, but also the why. Second list, identify what is affecting your business right now and what may affect you in the future. So you need to brainstorm and sort factors into current influences versus likely future influences. Third, rate impact. Assess how severely each factor could affect the business. Reach group consensus. So this is the step that people often skip. Hindi lahat ng trend or issue kailangan mong pagtuunan ng pansin. You need to rank them. Which one have the biggest possible impact on your business? If you're working with a team, you need to discuss and argue about your priorities until you reach on an agreement. Okay? Fourth is, identify actions. So you need to convert findings into specific strategic decisions, not just observations. Okay, so this is where analysis becomes a decision. And I want you to pay attention to this because this is one of the most common mistakes in business papers. So if you write, inflation is rising, then you stop. That's not enough. Hindi sapat yon. Parang sinabi mo lang na umuulan, okay. 'Di ba? So, ano ngayon? So, what are you going to do about it? Okay? So, dapat hindi mo lang ma-identify what can you do to mitigate the risk, what can you do about it to prepare for it, diba? So, here's what proper analysis sounds like. So flour prices are increasing, so my cost per kilo of bread will increase by around 3 pesos. Therefore, I either need to find another supplier or adjust my pricing before my profit margin disappears. So could you see the chain? So, diba? So that's what analysis sounds like. You're connecting cause and effect. So before that, you're basically just reporting the news. Again, you have to identify the action. Once you identify the factor that can affect, okay, you have to do something about it. You have to think of ways to prepare or mitigate it. Okay? Okay. So, okay, next one. So Porter's five forces. So Pezel reads the macro environment. The five forces judges one specific industry's attractiveness. Okay. Kumbaga, si Pezel gives you the view from the mountain. It's the big picture. The Porter's five forces is different. This time, imagine that you're standing right beside another person who's also trying to sell the same thing you are selling. So, ganun yon, ha? So, there are five forces. Okay, so, first one is the threat of substitutes. Customers switch to a different solution entirely. Video conferencing replacing business travel. So, this means customers don't necessarily switch to your direct competitor. Sometimes they switch to a completely different solution. So, for example, instead of riding a jeep, someone books a ride through an app. Ba? Instead of traveling to attend a meeting, they use a video call. Different product, but the same need. That is substitute. Okay? Again, ang substitute, ano ha, different, same yung need na ina-address, pero magkaibang product. Gaya niyan, yung sinabi ko kanina, di ba? Yung isa, pwede namang mag-jeep, pero dahil mas convenient si Grab o di kaya si Angkas, magbubook na lang ako sa Angkas. Diba? Wala pang pwede pang lusot-lusot kay Angkas kung sa motor. Ganon, okay? So, substitute yon. Next one, threat of new entrants. How easily new competitors can enter and start competing. Okay, so how easy is it for another person to open exactly the same kind of business beside you next month? If the answer is very easy, that's a problem. Kaya nga tinatanong ko kayo sa business concept ninyo. Siguraduhin ninyong hindi agad-agad magagaya. Kasi kapag yung mga ano-ano lang, pa-MM lang, para lang for compliance, parang hindi nyo pa rin nagigets yung totoong value nitong learning. Hindi pa rin na-apply yung learning natin ngayon. Okay? So, choose a product concept that is difficult to replicate or to imitate. Okay? Next one. Rivalry among firms. Saan na tayo? Yan. Rivalry among firms. How intense competition already is by number and strength of players. So, how many competitors are already there? Imagine opening a food business on a street where there are already 20 similar food businesses. So that's intense competition, ba? Fourth is bargaining power of suppliers. So how much control suppliers hold over the inputs you depend on. So if only one supplier can provide something you badly need, then the supplier has a lot of power over you. Parang hawak nila ang business mo, hawak kasi lieg. 'Di ba? Kasi siya lang ang pwede mong pagkuhanan eh. Siya lang ang merong ganun. So, maaaring si supplier, pwede siyang magtaas ng presyo sa'yo. Kasi alam niya sa sarili niya na in that area, siya lang ang pwedeng magbigay sa'yo ng ganun. Okay? Pero kung mas maraming suppliers, si business, mas maraming pagpipilian. Supplier A, B, C. Di ba? Mas maraming papipilian. Siyempre, yung mga tatlong suppliers na yan, mag-aagawan sila sa'yo para makuha ka nila. And they can offer better deals. Diba? Better deals para sa'yo. Pwedeng discounts or what. Okay? So, next one is power of buyers. How much pressure customers can exert to push your prices down. So if customers can easily compare prices and switch to another seller, they have more bargaining power. And if customers can constantly push your price down, your profit margin becomes smaller. So what do we do with these 5 forces? You basically have 3 options. Okay, ano yung pwede mong gawin? Proceed, reconsider, find a unique position. Okay? Proceed if the industry is attractive and the forces are manageable. Reconsider if almost everything is working against you and you can't see a realistic path to profit. Or find a unique position. Maybe the industry is difficult, but you have an angle that competitors cannot easily copy. Okay, so ito yung decisional protocol. Once na na-identify mo to, tignan mo, magpo-proceed ba ako? Magre-reconsider ba ako? O magpa-find ako ng mas better na position na meron ako nito, may pag-asa ito, pero kailangan ko lang i-strategize ng iba kasi meron ako nito na walang yung ibang competitors. Okay? And remember, a difficult industry does not automatically mean no. Some very successful businesses operate in brutal industries. They simply found an angle that other business couldn't easily imitate. So, mahahanap ka lang dito, hahanap ka lang, or i-leverage mo yung aspect mo, yung strength mo na hindi nila kayang gayahin. Yun yung pagtuunan mo ng pansin. Okay? Next one. So, industry structures and life cycles. So, where an industry sits in its life cycle strongly shapes with strategy, which strategy will work. So, 8 to 30% new venture success is attributable to industry context. 38, 4-year survival rate for information technology startups. 55%. 4-year survival rate in healthcare or educational venture. Okay? So let's talk about something a little uncomfortable. So your success is not entirely about you. Sometimes it's also about the industry you choose to enter. So research suggests that around 8 to 30% of a new venture success may be explained by the industry itself. Meaning, hindi lang effort mo ang tinitake into consideration. Hindi lang yung talent mo ang dahilan. Okay? Kung bakit successful. The environment or arena you entered also matters. For example, 4-year survival rates can differ significantly between industries. The figures shown here suggest about 38% for IT startups and around 55% for ventures in healthcare or education. So please don't interpret that as, ay, wag na akong mag-tech. So that's not the lesson. The lesson is, know the fight before you enter the ring. Okay. Yun yung sinasabi na yun, kailangan, yung sa strategy, alam mo na kaagad kung paano mo madedefeat yung kalaban. May plano ka na. Kasi inaral mo lahat. So there are 5 structures here. 5 structures. We have emerging, fragmented, mature, declining, and global. For the emerging industries, okay, emerging, these are new industries, bago, often based on recent technology. So examples, yan yung mga AI and cybersecurity. Next one is fragmented. So they have many players, pero walang dominant na leader. Think of fast food, groceries, or sari-sari stores. Sa mature naman, established industry na siya. Slower growth and a few major companies dominate. So, example would be automotive and airlines. Okay? Next one is declining. Revenues are falling and demand may continue to disappear. Examples niyan yung newspaper and photographic film. And global. Industries where competing often requires multinational operations, such as oil or shipping. So now when you're thinking about your own business idea, you need to ask yourself, where does my idea belong? Is it emerging? Is it fragmented? Is it mature? Is it declining or global? So your answer matters because your strategy should fit the industry you're entering. Okay? Next one. Slide 8. For entry strategies, who actually wins? Okay? So being first builds recognition, but history rewards the firm that learns from the pioneer. Diba? So sabi, history rewards the firm that learns from the pioneer. Take a look at Google and Yahoo. Nauna si Yahoo. Pero nasa na si Yahoo ngayon as a browser? 'Di ba? Si Google sumunod lang siya, pero sino yung umaari ba ngayon? Sino yung nagdo-dominate, 'di ba si Google? Eh hindi naman siya yung nauna. Okay? So, here's an interesting question. Does being first always mean winning? So you might think yes. First mover advantage is real. If you are the first, you have the opportunity to build brand recognition before competitors enter. But being first also has a downside. So, meron example si Alta Vista. It was a search engine that existed before Google. Meron pa pala before Yahoo, no? Alta Vista pa pala. And VisiCalc, one of the early spreadsheet programs, existed years before Microsoft Excel. Both were early, both eventually lost. Bakit? Because sometimes, being the second mover gives you an advantage. The pioneer spends money figuring out what doesn't work. 'Di ba? Yung pioneer, ang dami-dami niyang ginagastos kasi nag-explore pa siya. Ang laki na lang ginastos niya sa research and development, no? But the fast follower gets to observe those mistakes and enter with a better version. Siyempre nakita na niya yung mga nag-benchmark na siya. Ay, si Alta Vista, gano'n, hindi ganito yung problema nila. Dapat ganito yung gawin natin para mas lumamang tayo. Diba? Parang gano'n. So, sometimes, being second is actually the better seat. There are also other entry strategies. So, in a fragmented industry, there's the roll-up strategy where you grow by acquiring smaller players instead of competing with every single one individually. Okay? So, acquire small competitors. Binibili, acquire, bili. Bumibili ng mas maliit na competitor to consolidate market share. And in a mature industry, simply copying the existing businesses may not be enough. So you need business model innovation. So think about Amazon. The book industry already existed. 'Di ba? Ang Amazon dati, nagbebenta lang ng e-books. So marami ng bookstores nung dumating si Amazon. So instead of simply opening a slightly better bookstore, Amazon changed the way books moved from publishers to customers. They essentially removed the part of the traditional distribution structure. That's called disintermediation. And you've probably seen a modern version of this through live selling on social media. So instead na yung seller, tapos physical store, tapos distributor, then customer, you can sometimes have seller direkta sa customer. And that's a business model innovation in action. Okay? Ayan. Next, strategic foresight and continuous scanning. So, we have scanning, scouting, monitoring. Okay? So, here's another reality check. If you only plan once a year, the world can change several times before your next planning meeting. So, environmental scanning shouldn't be a one-time event. Again, hindi dapat siya one-time event. It has to become a habit. Paulit-ulit, no? Proseso siya na paulit-ulit. So, there are 3 modes. Ano yung 3 modes na yan? Scanning. So, scanning, nauna, it's a broad, wide-angle search for weak signals and early trends across varied sources. So, scanning, this is a wide angle. You're looking broadly for weak signals, early hints, and changes that might become important later. Next one is scouting. So this is deep dive. You've already identified something important, so now you're going deeper into that specific issue. And monitoring. This means continuously watching things you already know are important. So competitors, established trends, customer behavior, and so on. Now, look at the funnel on the slide. Okay, you might notice 500 raw signals, but you don't act on all 500. You filter those down to maybe 50 meaningful patterns, and eventually you may commit actual money and time to only around 5 strategic bets. Why? Because your resources are limited, 'di ba? You don't have unlimited time, money, or attention. Hindi naman unli yan, 'di ba? Kahit na si Henry C, hindi yan kikilo, hindi niya yan popondohan lahat ng business concept. Hindi. Kailangan mag-brainstorm ng marami, tapos i-cut down to 50%. Cut down, hindi lang 50%, 50 lang yan, no? And then, 5 strategic bets. Kaya nga, 'di ba, I asked you to submit your business concept. I asked you to ask for approval. I will be approving your business concepts, and kung ano man yung na-approve ko, yun na yung magiging product nyo, 'di ba? Kasi lahat ng yan maraming magagandang idea. Pero kailangan mong i-filter out yung mga salain. Ayan, i-filter out mo yung mga best ideas. So, you need to filter ruthlessly. And there's another important principle. Every major bet should have a clear timeline and one person accountable for it. One name, not just the team. Because if everybody is responsible, sometimes nobody is actually responsible. Ito na yung tinatawag nating accountability. I think you've already experienced this in group project, 'di ba? Na sino yung in charge ng ganito, ganyan, ganito, tapos kasi ganito ma'am, hindi kumikilo si ganito, ganyan. So, two principles here are filtering and quantifying. Filtering asks, does this signal accelerate, threaten, or invalidate something that matters to me? Si quantifying naman, how big is the impact and how likely is it to happen? And here's the interesting part. Sometimes a high impact possibility is worth watching even if it's uncertain. A small, almost certain event may not matter much, but something that could completely change your business, that's worth paying attention to. Okay? Yon. Next one. Case in point, Philippine SME survival. Now, I want to show you that these concepts aren't just foreign theories. So, ito tayo. Okay? Research studied small and medium enterprises operating in the Makati local government area. And they found 3 recurring barriers to business survival. Anong barrier? Hindrances. Problema, hindrances. First, barrier, pumipigil. First, inflationary trends. So, unpredictable changes that increase operating costs. Second is infrastructural facility accessibility. So, basically, the physical and digital limitations of the environment where the business operates. And third would be the government policy. So, regulatory requirements and policies that may change or create difficulties for businesses. The study reported a 72.15% survival rate. Okay? That's almost 3 out of 4 businesses surviving. So, ayan 72.15. So, parang, 3 out of 4 businesses surviving lang siya. But now, think about the challenges they faced. Which of those 3 do you think can hurt businesses the most here in our own area? For businesses in Dagupan and Pangasinan, infrastructure and government policy can certainly become major concerns. especially for businesses that depend on agriculture, deliveries, transportation, or physical access. Think about it. Fuel prices if you deliver, flooded or damaged roads during the rainy season, permits and requirements at City Hall. These are not abstract concepts. We actually experience them. And that's the important lesson from this slide. So businesses that survive aren't necessarily the bravest one. They are often the ones with a system. They anticipated problems. They use tools like PESEL and Five Forces. They plan before the problem hits instead of simply reacting afterward. Okay? Next. So from experience to insight. Okay. So according kay Andrew C. Corbett, knowledge becomes opportunity across 4 phases and the loop is not linear. So we have, ito na-discuss ko na to, I know, knowledge accumulation, mind incubation, idea experience, evaluation, and implementation. Okay? So we've spent a lot of time looking outward. Now let's look at you. Where do business idea actually come from? So research by Andrew Corbett describes 4 phases. First is knowledge accumulation. So you gather information, you read, you talk to people in the industry, you attend events, you observe. And here's something important. Don't only explore your own field. Sometimes exploring completely unrelated areas gives you unexpected connections, no? Moving on to mind incubation. This is the part students sometimes don't appreciate. Your subconscious can continue working on a problem even when you're not actively thinking about it. So yes, taking a walk, taking a shower, exercising, or even staring at the ceiling can sometimes be part of the creative process. And kahit ako na experience ko yan dati, Diyos ko, ah, magkakaroon ka ng eureka moment. Eureka, parang aha moment, pag least mong inaasahan. Minsan nga, matutulog ka pa lang, paantok ka na, biglang merong idea na pumasok sa utak mo, kailangan mong bumangon para isulat kasi baka makalimutan mo eh. Parang ganon, that's mind incubation. So rest is a phase, not a failure. Okay? Next one, the idea experience. So this is your aha moment. You suddenly connect the pieces and many people experience this right before sleeping. Kaya, sa kagaya ng sabi ko nga kanina, di ba? So here's a practical tip. Keep your notes app ready because an idea that you don't write down is an idea you may have already lost. And phase 4, evaluation and implementation. Now you test the idea, you refine it, you actually do something about it, you ask people who know more than you learn from setbacks, and you treat problems as information. Most importantly, remember, this isn't a straight line. You can get stuck. You may have to go back to phase 1, which is knowledge accumulation, and gather better information, but that's not failure. That's actually how the process is supposed to work. Okay? So, wag kang mahiya, wag kang ma-disappoint kung kailangan mong bumalik sa phase 1. Kung yan naman ang ikakabuti ng project mo, ng business mo, di ba? Next one. Creativity, 4 truths, 4 techniques. So, let me kill one myth right now. Creativity is not only for people who can draw, huh? If you've ever said, I'm not a creative person, I'm going to disagree with you. Because here are the 4 truths about creativity. So first, everyone is creative to some degree. Ayan, no? Some people simply express it more naturally. Second, creativity can be learned and developed, just like any other skill. Third, negative thinking can block creativity, Negative thinking can block creativity. So, wag kang nega. Fourth, creativity grows better in an environment where there is support, resources, and permission to make mistakes. So, think about this. Have you ever had an idea during class or group work but decided not to say it because you were afraid someone might laugh? Nako, nako. That's the problem. The blocker isn't necessarily lack of intelligence. It's often fear or takot. So how can you develop creativity? You can use lateral thinking or deliberately moving away from the obvious pattern. You can practice thinking outside the box, like asking why and why not. You can also practice recognizing relationships, like connecting things that initially seem unrelated, and you can use both logic and imagination together. So when you encounter a problem, you need to ask yourself these 6 questions. What is the problem? Ano bang problema? Sino bang apektado? Who is affected? Paano siya nakakaapekto or how are they affected? What are the costs? Magkano magagastos? And can it be solved? Kaya bang solusyonan yun? And finally, would people actually pay for the solution? That last question is very important because you can create the most creative solution in the world. But if nobody is willing to pay for it, you may have a very interesting idea, but not necessarily a viable business. 'Di ba? So, kaya tinatanong, meron bang bibili niyan? Kung ikaw ay consumer, kung ikaw ay customer ng product na yan, bibilhin mo ba yan? Alam ko maraming magsasabi, yes ma'am, gani, pero yung alam ko sa sarili nila, hindi. Kasi sila mismo, hindi sila natutuwa sa design o hindi sila natutuwa sa concept. Ginagawa lang nila para may maipasa lang for compliance sake lang. Yun yung ayaw ko sa students, no? Ayoko yung for compliance sake lang. Dapat ginagawa ninyo yung activities na ito kasi nasa utak na ninyo na, someday ipapatayo ko itong business na 'to. Hindi lang yung, wala naman akong mag-empleyado lang naman ako, eh." Alam niyo bang sa MBA, yan ang ini-encourage. 'Pag mag-MBA kayo, feasibility study din ang or capstone project din lang yung final requirement. And andun sila sa phase na empleyado na sila, gusto kong i-push itong business na 'to. Itutuloy ko ito someday. So talagang brainchild nila yung kanilang project na yun. Now, kung meron kayong magandang idea ngayon, edi go. Yun yung mas maganda. Basta ang isipin niyo someday maipapatayo ko tong business na to. Hindi lang for compliance sake. I might not be prepared right now because I'm still a student, but once I graduate, siguro pwede ko pa tong i-refine. Okay na tong pasado ako sa entrep mindset, entrep management, 90 ang grade ko. Pero 'pag ipu-push ko 'to, siguro iti-tweak ko ito ng konti, ire-refine ko pa ito para mas ma-improve itong business concept na ito. 'Di ba? Dapat gano'n yung nasa isip niyo na agad-agad, hindi yung for ano lang, for compliance sake lang. Kasi parang putchu-putchu lang yung trabaho. 'Wag na, 'no, 'wag na kayong mag-effort, 'di ba? Kung gano'n din lang yung nasa mindset niyo. Kaya nga entrep mindset, eh. 'Di ba, ang mindset ninyo magko-comply lang, eh, di wala din lang, walang silbi lang din yung lessons na ito, okey? Next one, the 7 arenas of creativity. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite slides in topic 5 because it changes the way people think about creativity. So William Miller argues that many people underestimate their own creativity because they think creativity only means art, diba? But there are actually 7 different arenas pagdating sa creativity. First, idea creativity. You can come up with new solutions, a new product, diba? Next, material creativity. You create tangible things like products, advertisements, or photographs, and so on. Third is organization creativity. You can find better ways to organize people and processes para mas mabilis yung sistema. Anong pwede nating gawin para mas mag-improve to? So think about the classmate who somehow organizes your entire group project, assigns everyone a task, and miraculously everything works. That is creativity. Kasi meron na ring leadership skill doon. Next is relationship. creativity. So, you find new and mutually beneficial ways of working with people. For example, someone who can negotiate effectively with a supplier and get a better deal. Next, event. You design an experience, the flow of an event or activity. So next one is inner creativity. You discover new ways of understanding yourself and the world around you. And finally, spontaneous. Acting creatively in the moment, a witty reply, an off-the-cuff speech. So, this is ability to think on your feet. That quick answer during recitation, pag nag-recite, biglang tataas yung kamay. Ayun, that's witty. That witty response, that ability to improvise when something doesn't go according to plan. So when you look at these 7, don't ask yourself, am I creative? Instead, ask, where does my creativity usually show up? And also, which area do I rarely use? You might actually be more creative than you think. Diba? So, ayun. Okay, so again, don't think na you are not creative. Maraming areas ang pagiging creative. Okay? So, yon. Next one. Innovation types, habits, and the big divide. So, let's set the right expectations about innovation. Movies sometimes make innovation look like this huge lightning bolt moment. Parang biglang, Eureka! Ganon, merong solusyon. Then suddenly, you have a billion-peso company. Ganon ang mga sinasabi ng mga movies. But real innovation usually doesn't happen that way. It's more often consistent, repetitive, sometimes boring work. It starts with 3 habits. Ano kaya yun? Observing and analyzing real needs, thinking holistically, and focusing and simplifying. Okay? In other words, solve one problem really well instead of trying to solve 5 problems badly. Okay, so there are 4 types here. We have invention, extension, duplication, synthesis. So for invention, creating something entirely new. For extension, taking something existing and applying it in a new way. Duplication, creating something similar to an existing idea, but adding a twist that makes it stand out. And synthesis, combining 2 existing ideas to create something new. So we also have the incremental innovation, improve something that already exists without fundamentally changing how it works. Like for example, a better recipe, a faster checkout process, a slightly better phone camera, small improvements but still improvements, diba? Pero si disruptive innovation, it is different. It often starts by serving a market that major players are ignoring. Usually, the product is simpler or cheaper, but still good enough for that particular group. Then over time, it improves, and eventually it may become a threat to the established leaders who initially ignored it. A very familiar local example is sachet-sized products. Small, cheap, and perhaps initially dismissed by some people, but now they are a major part of the neighborhood retail. And finally, let's correct some common myths. So innovation doesn't only come from an R&D department. You don't need everything to be perfect before testing it. A bigger team doesn't automatically mean better innovation, and technology matters, but customer needs are what drive successful innovation. So look at the bottom row. Sabi niya, be action-oriented, keep it simple, stay customer-focused, start small, aim at a niche, try, test, revise, treat failure as learning, follow a milestone schedule, and reward innovation activity. Okay? In other words, innovation is a work ethic and not a personality type. Take note work ethic, hindi siya sa personality. Okay? Moving on. So next slide. The design a thinking process. So, a structured human-centered route from a real user problem to a tested solution. So we have empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So let's talk about design thinking. So I want you to think of design thinking as a recipe. It's not just a theory. So there are 5 stages: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. For stage 1 is empathize. Talk to real users, observe them, understand their frustrations and their situation. And here's the rule that you will probably break at least once. Don't propose a solution yet. Just listen. Because it's their problem, not yours. 'Di ba? Sabi natin lagi, 'di ba, we have to identify their needs and wants. But how can you identify their needs and wants if you cannot understand them, if you don't know them, if you don't know the problem, the pain point? And that's for the empathize, no? Kailangan mong alamin muna kung ano ba, san ba yung nahihirapan sila para makapag-isip ka ng pwede mong isolusyon through your product or service. But again, in first stage, you don't have to propose a solution yet. You just listen. Kaya nga empathy you're putting yourself in their shoes para mas maintindihan mo kung saan sila nanggagaling. Okay? Next, stage 2 is define. This is where you turn all those observations into one clear problem set or problem statement. Who exactly is affected? What exactly is the gap? And if you can't explain the problem in one clear sentence, you probably don't understand it well enough yet. 'Di ba? Kaya yung mga nakikita ko na proposal ninyo, 'di ba, sabi ko, sino ba ang maging target market? Ibig sabihin, sila yung apektado ng problem na nakita nyo. 'Di ba? What exactly is the gap? So, kaya lang very generic yung mga based on mga assignments ninyo na nabasa ko, very generic yung nakita ko na kayang-kaya naman nilang makuha yung ganong product sa iba. And at the same time, to be honest, yung sa mga about health conscious, parang kung estudyante ang inyong target market, college students, hindi pa naman yung mga yan health conscious Kasi ang mga yan madalas nga puro mas mahilig nga sila sa fast food, milk tea, kape, instant noodles. Tapos ibebentahan nyo sila ng healthy snacks. 'Di ba? Kumbaga hindi parang may gap. Parang feeling ninyo problema nila 'yon pero hindi nila talaga nare-realize 'yon kasi hindi pa kayo nagtatanong, hindi talaga kayo nag-survey. Hindi kayo nagtanong-tanong sa kapwa nyo estudyante. Parang sinasabi nyo lang na, merong market dito. Pero sa inyo lang galing. Feeling nyo lang yun. Gut feel nyo lang yun. Wala talagang concrete na evidence. Kaya I don't think na mag-work yung mga na-propose ninyo nung nakaraan. Think of it again. Okay? Next one, ideate. Now generate as many solutions as possible. And during this stage, don't immediately judge the ideas. Wag yung sabihin na that's stupid, wag yung that won't work. There will be a time to evaluate. Right now, you want volume and creativity. Okay? So, think of as many business concepts as you can. At doon na natin sasalain. Yung sa mga that won't work, ganito, ganyan, ako nang bahala doon kasi kayo mismong tatanungin ko. Pag nasagot ninyo yung pagsasala ko, pag nasagot niyo yung filtering questions ko, di mag-push through kayo. Pero pag hindi nyo nasagot, ibig sabihin hindi kayo prepared. Hindi iyon okay na idea. Scrap it out. Go back to the drawing board. Mag-isip na naman kayo ng business concept. Okay? Hindi ako wag yung isipin na ang arte-arte ko ganun. Kung kayo mismo hindi nyo masagot yung tanong ko, may problema, hindi nyo napag-isipang mabuti. Merong loophole kung baga sa inyong solusyon. Next one, prototype. Make something quick, cheap, and simple. You don't need the final product. You only need enough to test your core idea. And please remember, cardboard and paper can be perfectly good prototypes. You're not building the final product. You're building something that allows you to ask, does this idea actually work? Makikita ninyo yung mga project ng mga STEM students. Like, let's say, for example, yung prototype nila ng pagsesegregate ng basura automatically. gumamit lang naman sila ng mga cardboard, tapos sa mga chipset or basic na electronics kasi inaral nila yon. Prototype ang tawag doon, no? So, hindi mo na kailangan maging maayos kaagad. Gusto ko lang makita, pag nag-prototype kayo ng isang bagay, makikita natin how does it work. Pag pinagana mo yung button na to, pag pinindot mo pag press mo yung button na yon, anong function nun? Anong mangyayari? Parang ganun lang ang gusto natin sa prototype. And stage 5 is test. Put it in front of real users, get feedback, find out what needs to change. And remember, design thinking is iterative. Testing may send you back to define or ideate, and that's normal. And during ideation, you can also use scamper. Ano yung scamper? Substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. And these are ways of pushing an idea in different directions before you commit to it. So, pag na-test ninyo, pumalya, balik ka na naman sa square one. Di ba? So, again, ang pagiging creative, hindi natatakot na bumalik sa square one kasi ibig sabihin, you are making improvements. Kaya, ganun talaga. Okay? Next one. Design thinking in practice. So let me give you a simple story because this is where design thinking usually becomes easier to understand. So imagine a student living in building C of a dormitory. So it's exam week. And she keeps noticing the same problem. Students around her keep running out of printing credits at the worst possible time. Sounds familiar, right? So let's apply design thinking. You have to empathize. She doesn't simply assume what the problem is. She talks to her dorm mates, and she discovers the recurring frustration. Students struggle with printing costs right before deadlines. So you have to define. Now look at the difference. Instead of saying printing is expensive, she makes the problem specific. Students in Building C run out of printing credits during exam week, and that's much better. Because a vague problem is difficult to solve. A specific problem gives you something you can actually work with. Next one is ideate. So she comes up with several possibilities. Maybe a printing card, maybe a pooled credit system, maybe a formatting service. The important thing is that she doesn't immediately marry the first idea that comes into her head. So moving on to prototype. And here's the next part. Her prototype is simply a sign-up sheet. A piece of paper, no app, no coding, no expensive equipment, no major capital. Just enough to find out whether students are actually interested in a pooled printing system. Then, you need to test. She talks to 15 dorm mates, 15 people, and based on their feedback, she can already get an initial idea of whether the concept is worth developing further. Think about what she spent to test her idea. So 1 piece of paper and 15 conversations, and that's it. Compare that to someone who borrows 100,000 pesos, buys inventory, and only then discovers that nobody actually wants the product. So here's your challenge. So before we meet again sa face-to-face natin, you need to identify one real problem around you. Then write it the way you would during the define stage. One specific sentence. Okay? Next, features versus benefits. Communicating value. So people buy outcomes, not specifications. A feature is what it is. A benefit is what it does for them. So this might actually be one of the most useful slides in the entire discussion, especially when you start pitching your business ideas. So here's the rule. Nobody buys stainless steel. They buy the result that stainless steel gives them. For example, nobody wakes up and says, I really want some double-walled stainless steel today. What they actually want is cold coffee at 2 in the afternoon. A feature is a fact about your product. A benefit is what the feature does for the customer. People generally buy outcomes, not specifications. And let's look at the tumbler. Ano yung tumbler? Yung mga mga aqua flask, ganon. Ano yung feature niya? Double-walled stainless steel construction. Okay, so but why should I care? The benefit is Your iced coffee stays cold for hours even in Dagupan's midday heat. So now I care. Another example, a sari-sari store app has a feature called real-time inventory tracking. So what? The benefit is, you know when your best-selling products are running low, so you can restock before you lose a sale. Now we are talking about money, and here's one of my favorite examples. So a bakery says, we use a family recipe passed down through 3 generations, and that's the feature. But what's the actual benefit? Maybe it's the feeling of eating something that reminds you of home. You're not simply buying bread, you're buying memory and familiarity. So here's a habit I want you to practice. Okay, state a feature, then ask, so that, and then ask again, so that, and again and again and again. Keep going until you reach something that a real human being actually cares about. Because when you're pitching, if you simply list specifications, people may stop listening. But if you explain the outcome, that's when they pay attention. Okay, so yun ha. Features, advantage, and benefits. Okay. The 4 pillars of feasibility. Okay. Feasibility analysis is the narrow, fast reality check between an idea and a full business plan. So we have product, market, organizational, financial. So this is the cold part of the course. This is where some cute business ideas are going to die. And honestly, that's okay. It's actually a good thing because feasibility analysis is your reality check before you spend serious money, time, and effort. It sits between I have an idea and I'm going to create an entire business plan. Its purpose is to answer one question. Should this specific idea move forward? And we're going to look at 4 pillars. Okay, number 1, product or service, feasibility. Do people actually want this? Is the product desirable? Is there real demand? Next one, the market or industry, feasibility. Is the market attractive? Is the industry worth entering? This is where you connect back to Pestle and Porter's 5 forces. Third is organizational feasibility. Can your particular team actually execute the idea? Do you have the skills? Do you have the resources? And fourth, the financial feasibility. How much capital do you need? What are your costs? What revenue can you generate? And when, if ever, will you actually make a profit? Now, here's what I want you to remember. These 4 pillars are connected. You can't just look at the one that makes your idea look good. You can have an amazing product, but if nobody on your team knows how to create or deliver it, that's a problem. You can have a highly skilled and well-funded team, but if nobody wants your product, that's also a problem. You need to evaluate all 4 together. And this is where the idea of fail fast comes in. It is much cheaper to discover that an idea doesn't work after a 2-week feasibility study than after 6 months of production, inventory, and spending your entire savings. Ba? Failing fast protects your money, time, and motivation. Okay? So, doon papasok yung feasibility study ninyo. Doon yung makikita, dyan na papasok yung numbers, yung quantitative analysis ninyo. Yung mga ratio na yan, ROI, ayan, dyan yung makikita magkano ba talaga yung kailanganin ko for this business at kailan ko ba makukuha, mababalik sa akin yung capital. Kailan ba yung ROI na yan? Ba? So again, mas okay na nag-conduct ka ng feasibility study for a month or for 1 semester kesa ginugol mo, pinush mo yung idea without studying it further, tapos nag-fail lang after a year. 'Di ba? Sayang yung lahat ng resources. So bottlenecks and the go and no-go decision. So, we're almost done with the discussion. So, the next concept is bottlenecks. Ano ba yung bottlenecks? The word itself gives you a clue. You know, think of a bottle. It can contain a lot of liquid, but the neck is narrow. 'Di ba? Maliit yung labasan ng bote ng MP lights, ganun. I do not know. Basta ganon na bottleneck, yung nag-narrow down yung labasan ng liquid. Ayan. It can contain a lot of liquid but the neck is narrow. So kahit gaano karami ang laman, limited pa rin yung amount na makakalabas at a given time. In business, a bottleneck is a point where your capacity, resources, or process can't keep up with the rest of the business needs. And bottlenecks create delays, quality problems, and lost sales. So there are 5 common types. Okay, meron tayong supply, production, cash flow, skill, and logistics. Okay, so tingnan natin yung supply bottleneck. For example, a home bakery depends on one supplier for a key ingredient, but that supplier constantly runs out. Diba? Next one is production bottleneck. Imagine a one-person tailoring business that can only finish 5 orders per week. Kahit 1,000 customers ang dumating on Monday, 5 orders pa lang din yung kaya niyang matapos o kaya niyang gawin within a week. Diba? So that is production bottleneck. Cash flow bottleneck. This one is sneaky. Diba? You pay your suppliers today, but your customers don't pay you until several weeks later. So you can have lots of sales and still have very little cash available. Ayun lang. Diba? That's one of the things that can seriously hurt small businesses. Yun. And next one, skill or labor bottleneck. Your technology idea requires coding. Ano yung coding sa IT? But nobody on the team knows how to code. Diba? Ibig sabihin, may shortage ka sa sa skill set ng tao mo. Next one, logistics. Logistics bottleneck. Maybe your delivery business depends on roads that become difficult to access during the rainy season. So, nagkakaroon ng delays. Now, we reach the final decision. Okay? You have 3 possible answers. We have go with modification, or no go. Kapag go, the idea is feasible enough that you move forward and develop the full business plan. Next, go with modifications. The core idea is promising, but one or more areas need to be fixed first. And honestly, this may be the most common realistic answer. Go with modifications. No go. No go, you abandon the idea or completely rework it. You need to compare your internal strengths with external challenges. You need to ask yourself, do we have the necessary skills? Do we have enough capital? Do we have real differentiation? Do we have reliable suppliers? And then you need to look outside. Is the market already too crowded? Can customers easily switch? Are there regulatory problems? Are inflation or other external factors threatening us? Do we still have unresolved bottlenecks? And here's the most important thing I want you to take away. A no-go is not a failure. And sometimes the bravest and most professional decision you can make is to stop. Even if you still love the idea, being able to say no and defend that decision using evidence instead of optimism is one of the most valuable entrepreneurial skills you can develop. So don't be afraid if your idea doesn't work. Mas okay nang wag ka nang tumuloy kaysa mas malaki yung losses na may incur mo. Okay? Pag na-realize mo, natapos mong i-study yung macro and micro environment at nakita mong medyo matatalo ka, wag mo nang ituloy. Think na lang, maging creative ka na lang ulit and think of another business concept na mas mag-work for you. Okay? So that's the end of our lecture for midterms. I will be giving your handouts on the day of our face-to-face classes, or maybe the next day after our quiz for the prelims. Okay? So that's it. I need you to work on your business concepts further. By midterm, dapat meron na akong ma-approve na business concept at yung kaya ninyo talagang panindigan. Make sure na basahin or review. You need to review the creative process. You need to review whether there is really a need, or you just thought that there's a need but the customers won't buy it, be useless. Kasi hindi nila need yun. Wala namang pakialam ng mga estudyante sa health na yan, di ba? Although, yes, it's a need for them to be healthy, but reality check, kayo mismo, bibilhin nyo ba yung mismong product na yan, di ba? So, be more creative pa. Okay, so if you have any questions regarding our topic, please comment your questions sa Google Classroom. See you and adios.